everyone, and welcome to prompt number 118. Hey you, don't be mean. And let's just get into it. Oh boy, we have a 4. Elf, Alien Plant Life, First Love, and New Baby. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, you know what? Let's do this. Here we go. So jumping right into this prompt and just trying to combine all 4 of these prompts. Thankfully, and somehow this isn't the weirdest combination of prompts we've had. Even just in the past month, I think we've had the weirdest combination, but we always get through it, right? So starting off with my ideas, I first drew an elf couple with their newborn baby just kind of standing there in a portrait style with weird alien plants around them. That's pretty basic, I think. Love, baby, plant life, elves. It's a portrait. So next up, I thought I would sketch a abandoned newborn baby, kind of like a Harry Potter situation. Around the baby there is maybe memorabilia of the parents, their first picture together, a letter to the baby when it grows up, it's in a basket, and there's plant life around it because where it was ditched, there's plant life. Then I just drew a chunky baby thinking maybe something would come to mind, drew a Polaroid. When it came to First Love, I felt like that was something that didn't necessarily have to be a physical thing I drew, because First Love, I mean, love in its own isn't really... Anyways, let's get on with the drawing. So I did end up going with the first idea I had with the 2 elves together with their newborn baby. First love just represents the fact that maybe they are their first love. And alien plant life started off very simple in this illustration, and then later I came up with some really cute, but very simple, of course, I mean it is my art, ideas. So let's start off with what I am drawing. So when it came to the elf part, elves don't exist. You know, it's one of those things where elves aren't real. Elves are something that we made up. So honestly, I could do whatever the heck I wanted for elf. I think they kind of ended up sort of gnome-like. I could have went the really mystical, I guess, Lord of the Rings approach for elf, where they are human-sized, they're just old and magical. Or I could have went the Santa way, which is what I went, because honestly, I just love cute little things, so you know I'm going to go with the Santa style of elf. So once I decided which style of elf I wanted to go with, I started to think about ideas, especially revolving around the alien plant life. When I think aliens, obviously, I think of space. So I thought it would be really interesting to have one of these elves out in space. Or I say one of them in space because I wasn't really sure if I wanted to go with the hologram style of painting this illustration, or if I just wanted to have them just floating there in space, one dying, one alive. I guess this could also be a dream. But what I did was I drew one elf as a regular elf. They've got the pointy hat, and I gave them regular clothes because I just thought it would be really interesting to have a cross between a modern elf and like a classic elf. Sort of like Harry Potter, where technically in the books they do wear weirder clothes that aren't like muggle clothes, but at the same time they kind of have a mix between muggle and magical clothes, especially when it came to the uniform. So we have a pointy hat with a sweater, shoes, and pants, looking a little bit as a mix. I just think the character is so simple and cute. I love it. And on the left we have our astronaut elf, which I thought was really cute that I gave them the astronaut, the whole outfit, and then I still kept the metal hat, just put it in astronaut form. I just thought it was a really silly detail that I wanted to include, so maybe I just got really excited about that. Who knows? And then of course we have our new baby, which they are holding together. So this is where the idea kind of, I'm not really 100% sure on what their story is, but I mean, which prompt am I sure what the story is? So one of the elves obviously has gone out to space, but I'm not really sure, like I mentioned, did I want to make them a hologram, or is this a dream they're having? Or maybe they are able to, I have no idea. I'm not really a sci-fi person, but honestly, it could be anything. I mean, it's not real. But basically, I guess the elf on the left has gone to space and left the newborn baby with the elf on the right. And they miss their baby and their family, so maybe they're just imagining them together. But also some weird things started to happen. So with the alien plant life, originally it was just going to be vines. whipping around the elf, I was kind of thinking of ways maybe they interacted, so maybe she was being taken over by these plants. Originally, they were just little sprouts, they didn't even have faces. But as I continued to draw, I was like, well, this is an alien plant life and it literally just looks like a vine. That's pretty dang boring. So I gave them little mouths at the end of the vines, and it's just so adorable because they have little leaf hands and it's so cute. And I love them. But I do think I'm going to make them evil. I think what I'm going to decide to do with this story is that maybe she has gone to a planet where these little vine creatures live, and as she studies these vine creatures, slowly but surely they start to take over her or infect her, or, you know, become a parasite to her body or something and control her. Like I said, I still don't really have the story of this one completely fleshed out. I guess it's not really a huge concern, I'm just here for the drawing. But there's so many little details that I started to think about while I drew this. So the baby is wrapped up in a blanket, and I just drew some lines across the baby's wrappings just to represent the fact that there are folds in the blanket. But then I started to think about the relationship with the alien life and the elf in space, and I just started to think, well, maybe these alien plant forms have taken over her so much to the extent that, you know how there's like parasites in real life, like in our real life, that take over bugs or animals to the point where they control them to live their own life. Sometimes even killing themselves. Like, it's crazy. Parasites are honestly terrifying. But these little guys are so cute, and she thinks she has this really loving, studying relationship with them. But little does she know, they are taking over her brain, probably. I mean, there is one inside of the helmet peeking down at her, which I find so cute. He's just so adorable. So they have taken over her brain and the way she thinks, and she has sewn this baby blanket that maybe she shipped off through space back to her family. And the baby is wrapped up in this blanket that has these two stripes on it. And I started to think that I could color these stripes green and then put stitching on them to look like little pointy vines, because the vine creatures have little spikes or thorns on them. So it's really subtle. It does just kind of look like two green stripes with little lines on it. But my story is that she has been controlled by these plant life creatures so much that they were like, yes, put vines on the baby blanket. It would be so cute. Spread the message of our leader. Vine man. Vine man. But anyways, just a very subtle detail that I thought was really fun when it came to these parasite plant guys. When it came to coloring this particular illustration, I really was not sure what to do for the colors. It's one of those images where I really liked the illustration, and I just knew if I just jumped in without planning any sort of colors, I was going to hate it. So I scanned the line art and put it into Photoshop and started mocking up some colors, and I decided to go with some really basic colors. So I went with a sort of pinky red color, a yellowy orange color, a greeny blue color, and a blue color. So I kind of went with red, yellow, green, blue, and then of course gray for the space outfit. And I think it really worked for it. I wanted to work really bright for this one, but at the same time the yellow of their hair was just so toxically bright at first that I had to go back and tone it down a little bit with orange. I really don't like bright yellow colors. I really like a sort of orangey yellow color that you see there. Love it. So I didn't want it to be too bright, but I also did want this one to be really colorful and fun because normally I work earthy, and yes, originally I was thinking about making the vines a lovely diarrhea sap green. Oh, it would have been great! But I decided that it would be more fun, especially for how cute and simple these elves look, to make them really bright and colorful. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. And especially, of course, because I was planning on doing a circle in the background to show space. And I knew that if I made the characters too dark, they were going to blend into the space background. So I needed to make them sort of bright and light and colorful as to not blend too much into that space background. And I think it did pretty well. Again, also working with really simple shadows, not to overcomplicate the piece, just choosing shapes and angles to work with here and there. And for the space circle in the background, I got my compass, drew a circle, and carefully traced the circle with my watercolor brush. I honestly really do like the way a handmade feel looks sometimes, so as easier as masking fluid would be, sometimes you need that handmade touch. I like it. And there you go, you guys. There is prompt number 118, another prompt I really like. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys at the end card to look at your prompt entries. Last week's prompt was short and simple, skull, and you guys had so much variety, and it was really interesting to even see some of you put mermaid into this prompt. So for our first featured artist, we have Bert's Head, who created this really adorable little skull, I guess you would call neighborhood. It's just a bunch of houses made from skulls. It's so cute. I love them just going out into the distance, seeing these skeletons work. It's just so cute. I love it. And Seth Leoric 1220, I just love the simplicity of this piece and the bold colors. It's just really interesting. I could see this being a very roughly animated short or something. It's simple, it's sweet, it's interesting, and I want to know what's going on in here. What is the story? Alright guys, thank you so much for joining in. I cannot wait to see what you do with this week's prompts, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!